At the time that we formed the WWC, the politics as it was in those days required local organizing. But we were focused on local groups and nurturing and helping the local groups because they didn't really have the understanding of how to move a wilderness bill, but wanted to protect their local areas.
Washington Wild has a unique role in the ecosystem of conservation organizations in Washington. There are national conservation organizations that promote saving wilderness. There are statewide organizations that support a lot of different aspects of conservation. We're the only statewide organization that focuses exclusively on saving wildlands and waters.
Washington Wild does a great job that's very unique. It brings together communities, different partnerships to be able to establish the road to get wilderness through Congress.
Washington Wild's about protecting the best of our natural resources in areas that work sort of as nurseries of resilience for the system. The work that Washington Wild does sits right at the heart of our mission to protect clean water, not just in quantity but in quality. Puget Sound, as we say, is both a place, it's an idea, and it's also an ideal. Washington Wild's work sits at the heart of safeguarding that ideal for generations to come.
You know, Henry David Thoreau said, "In wildness is the preservation of the world." And I think that's even more true today than it was when he said it. We have a lot of threats to our planet. And I think one of the reasons that we haven't, as a society or even as a world, confronted the way we need to the problem of global climate change is because people have lost their connections to wildlands. And I think it's very important that we get young people out in the wilderness, we get people of all diverse backgrounds out in the, we as a society benefit when more people experience wildlands.
Our goal in our company is not just to take people and put them down the river and have them never come back. Our goal is to really, we're an instructional school, we're a pro school through the ACA. Our desire is to get people the education and get them safe enough and educated enough that they can come out here and enjoy this beautiful wilderness themselves as often as possible.
Evergreen's mission is to create and protect sustainable mountain biking opportunities in Washington State. We do that through advocacy, education, trail maintenance, youth programs, and community activities. Each year we do over 10,000 hours of volunteer trail work. And we've been doubling that for the last 3 years.
The Mountaineers is a nonprofit dedicated to getting people outside. So we have over 13,000 members and participants in Washington State and 7 branches. The Mountaineers actually has a long legacy and history in conservation work. You know, we've been around for over 100 years, and Mountaineers members have been working on conservation issues for that length of time. Because we really believe that when people have a personal connection with nature, they're going to know it and they're going to want to protect it.
So there's an inherent challenge between wanting to ensure that the lands are protected, but also being able to experience it through our own human-powered low-impact recreation. In Washington, I believe that's a challenge that we've really been able to overcome working with Washington Wild.
Yeah, we support Washington Wild because Washington Wild supports everything that we're about.
In working with Washington Wild, we've been able to lend our voice and the voice of our members to a lot of the wilderness work that we've been doing. And so conservation has always been a really important part of our mission, and that's why our partnership with Washington Wild is also so important to us as an organization.
Washington Wild is it's an amazing organization that really it brings attention, keeping our rivers open and safe for the future generations.
You must have good quality water to make good quality beer. Being a craft brewer and a fairly small craft brewer compared to the big breweries, we're reliant on producing a quality, consistent product. It's just, to me, a natural fit to want to help protect the sources of where your ingredients come from. Our water does come from the Icicle River, and that is how we came up with our name, Icicle Brewing Company. And we're just fortunate that because it does come from such a pure source, we don't have to treat it, and so it's a great start for fresh craft beer. I would encourage every brewery to be a part of protecting where our natural resources come from. Locally, we try and do a lot to keep our river clean and pure, and working with Washington Wild, it just helps to expand that throughout the state to keep our natural resources pure. And as a brewery, it's just so important because we are so reliant on that good water source.
The mission of Washington Wild to make sure that we preserve low areas where families can have access and for salmon spawning is really critical over the coming 50 years, because that's the kind of wilderness that we will be able to use for generations to come.
In my opinion, Washington Wild recognizes the value that comes from bringing together a diverse set of stakeholders and often plays a leadership role in bringing them together at the same table.
Where we are such a powerful combination, the Mountaineers and Washington Wild, is that we have new people coming to us every year who are learning a new recreation skill and connecting with the landscape. And when we partner with Washington Wild to also teach those people advocacy skills and educate them on the issues in the landscapes where they're learning to play and having this deep connection, we have the opportunity to create new conservationists, to add net new people to the movement. And I think that's really powerful, and it's something we can only do by working together.
I think something that's unique about us is that we understand that you have to have a long-term vision. It takes a long time to get Congress to pass a Wilderness Act. And it requires a certain degree of sophistication of our donors, people who understand that when they give their money, they're not necessarily going to see an immediate response. Not even a year later, not even 2 years later. Some of these things take 7 or 10 years before they're passed. And we have the staying power, and we have great relations with other conservation organizations, and we can build coalitions, and we can be very effective in getting these only about once a decade bills passed by Congress.
It's not easy to pass legislation. You have to bring people in a community together, different organizations, bring together a whole coalition of people to get the kind of energy to get legislation through Congress. That's what Washington Wild does uniquely and very well.